Morning, we're back with tnoooz at tnoozLIVE this morning. I've got Andy Owen Jones with me from bd4travel, and we're going to talk about personalisation and some of the trends in the industry. Andy, thanks for joining us. Can we start with bd4travel and the kind of milestones that you've seen in the last year or so?
In the last year?
Yeah.
Apart from trade shows, which when you're working in travel technology, the trade shows always seem like quite a milestone, because you always have to deliver new things and develop them. I think the biggest things we've done are work with larger customers at scale. So our clients that we've been working with for a while, like Expedia, we've been working in more places with them. Our relationship with Travel Republic has got very close, and we are able to deliver more and more products to them based on the different approach that we bring. And I think what we've seen is, as people have got more understanding of AI in the marketplace, we can bring stuff out of the closet that we've been doing for a long time and say, actually, this deep learning stuff does work. It's not something to be afraid of. It brings you real benefits. And then people start to swing their strategy round and focus more on, okay, if I knew what everyone wanted, what can I do? And I think that's really changed the dynamic of things. So our big milestones have been large customers just getting bigger.
And I remember talking to you in the past, and that was always a frustration for you, is just getting someone to try it and then seeing how it went. So as a sort of first mover in with personalisation in travel, what are you seeing in terms of the kind of the biggest challenge, the biggest frustration still for you?
I think when you work in an OTA or a tour operator and you have an online presence, the best thing that you can do is set up a test and learn approach. And I think everyone who works in that kind of environment knows that the whole point is you try things out, and some of them work and some of them don't. And I think it's been a while to get our customers used to the idea that you've got to try things. And if you don't try something, you'll never learn. Those who have started to understand that and start to understand if you've got absolutely excellent data, you can learn about things, are able to move far faster than those who don't. And what I think my biggest frustration has been clients who want to have an out-of-the-box thing that's delivered, and they don't necessarily want to learn. They just want a product that ticks a box and then move on. The ones where it works really well, we learn together. And you go down a journey of, okay, let's take it away from averages and segments and take it down to the level of the individual. If you knew what every person on your site wanted, what could you do? And that's something which we're right at the early stages of learning it so far. And the clients we've worked with who understand that, we have superb relationship with. And we learn together, we build new products together, we design things together, and we get deeper and deeper into what it means to address a customer's user experience in a good way.
So, for me, one of the biggest elements of that personalisation is the profile, the customer's actual profile. And yes, somebody was saying to me earlier today that we're still only able to catch about 30% of the customer's profile. Is that your experience as well?
It depends what you mean. So I don't think customers know a lot of the time what they want. And so, yes, we can only capture certain things about them, but we can often understand what they want before they do. So no, we don't know 100% about them, but I think if you go to the shop, you don't necessarily know, I want that particular jumper or I want those particular trousers. It's when you compare things and look at the prices and start to try things on that you start to see, I want that one. Does that mean you don't know enough about me if you can't predict that in advance? Maybe. But as people search for their holidays and start to compare things, we can tell more and more and more about them. And I think the key to personalization in the future will be, can we give them information back to say, we've looked at what you're looking at, we understand what you're after, here are all sorts of interesting ideas for you. And I would say the maturing in terms of understanding about personalization is not, we know exactly who you are and we know your past history, therefore we can predict this is what you're going to do. It's, we've got an infinite world of travel, we understand what you're comparing, we can help you have an insight into your own desires, and then we can surface products that are going to be interesting and stimulating to you. So yes, I don't think we can know everything about someone, and I don't think people want to give you all their details, but I think we can learn so much about individuals and feed that back to them and say, look, there are so many great hotels or so many great trips, you're never going to find it if you rank them all in price order and just go down them from start to finish. But by understanding what you're comparing, we can start to say to you, look, actually we think for this holiday, don't try there, try here. And for this hotel, don't try that kind of thing, try this. And I don't think you need a 100% profile to do that. You just need to be better than guessing, putting it in price, putting it in these things. And that is something that, the nice thing with artificial intelligence or machine learning is you can learn with every interaction. Whereas if you're trying to say, let's have their profile, and if this person does that, then do this, as a kind of business rule, you'll never get more than 30% of their profile, and even if you do, it won't bring you any benefit.
So when I talk to companies like Expedia, everything now seems to be about intent. And is that the kind of development we're going to see this year when it comes to personalization?
Oh, very much so. So we have 4 main sets of algorithms that we work with, one of which is where are they in the funnel? Are they looking for inspiration? Are they ready to book? Or are they just planning? And I think if you know their intent at that phase, you can say, do I want to keep them interested, or do I need to help them through the booking process as fast as possible? And then when it comes to Mallorca hotels, there may be 1,500 hotels in Mallorca. 1,350 of them will have a pool and a veranda. So there's no point understanding that they want a swimming pool. Everyone who goes there wants a swimming pool. But what you need to understand is, for this particular holiday, how are they weighing up criteria? And so I'd say there's no such thing as a concrete intent. There's always a contextual intent and a weighing up of alternatives. And so for me, intent is one part of the puzzle. The other part is, how good is your content? Because if you can't understand what that hotel's good for, or what that tour's good for, or what are the attributes of all your products, there's no point understanding a customer's intent, because you'll only show them the same thing anyway. So the two things go very much hand in hand. What does that person want, and how good is the content I'm putting in front of them? And I think that's what most shops would call retailing outside the travel industry. They would say, let's try and understand the customer, let's offer them something that's good and something that's ideal for them, and then something that's cheap, and give them some choices, building in margins, building all those kind of things, but really giving people the chance to choose. And so I think the concept of intent is very useful, but out of context, it's as meaningless as trying to say, what is my score? And it doesn't really matter what your score is, it's how you use that to help people make decisions. So Netflix film scores are different for me compared to my daughter.
Yeah.
It's 98% suitable for me, 30% suitable for my daughter, and vice versa. Yeah. She likes all the action movies, I like all the romance movies, that kind of thing. And we would end up having to make that decision very contextually, where that person is in their journey, what kind of holiday they're after, where they are in their choice process, and so on. And I think intent on its own is not a very viable concept. Combined with context and combined with product understanding becomes very useful.
So just as a final question, somebody said yesterday, and it was in context with chatbots, that if people know that what's being delivered to them is being delivered via a machine, then they're much more forgiving than if it's being delivered by a human. Do you agree with that?
For now, that's probably true in terms of chatbots, but I think it's partly because people have been trained to get used to clunky interfaces. I think what you'll see with chatbots is, as they learn, they will become as good as people in terms of answering rudimentary routine questions, and they'll be far more patient than people are. Where I'm not sure, I think it'll take a bit longer, is in voice-activated stuff, because people are prepared to put up with things which are slightly more abrupt, or where they can say, I don't know the answer to that. But I'm not sure people will use that channel very much. They want someone who can get to an answer. In terms of personalization itself, I think people don't realize that the machine is doing the personalization a lot of the time. And if you get editorial content that's nicely chosen, it can be very good. The big difference for me with editorial content and machine content is you can't learn very often from editorial content. You can learn once a day or once a week.
Sure.
With machine content, you can learn 1,000,000 times a day. So it's intrinsically going to be better for routine jobs. It should learn faster, so even if it's clunky now, it will be better going forward. And I suspect people will be more unforgiving to machines than they are to people, because machines should have infinite information, infinite learning opportunities, and people will get used to the machine having the right answer. And if it doesn't, people will be impatient.
Andy, thanks a million for your time.
Pleasure, thank you.
So stay tuned, we'll be right back, and just want to thank the sponsors again, OTA Insight and CodeGen.